Bucky's, Callum Turner, wife, Josephine Ada Dodie Pitts Egan, who was mentioned at the end of Masters of the Air, was part of a group whose contribution in WW2 largely goes unexplained, the WASPs aka the Women Air Force Service Pilots. Masters of the Air chronicles the story of the 100th Bomber Group who, alongside other bomber squads, went on several missions against targets in German-occupied Europe. The show also features an accompanying documentary on the events depicted in the series, The Bloody Hundredth. The WASPs were a result of the merging of the Women's Auxiliary Ferrying Squadron, WAFS, and the Women's Flying Training Detachment, WFTD. Each organization was founded in 1942, shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, with small classes of women due to strict qualifications. They assisted the U.S. Army Air Force by performing whatever flight duties they required before merging into the WASPs on August 5, 1943. The role of WASPs in World War II explained. Plane and Masters of the Air ending. The duties of the WASPs included performing check flights, ferrying planes, towing targets for anti-aircraft gunnery practice, putting flying time on new engines, and even instructing male cadets. The organization existed for 16 months, recruiting 1,074 cadets from an initial class of 1,879, which is a better washout rate than their male counterparts. While some pressed for the WASPs to become part of the WAC, Women's Army Corps, their founders Nancy Harkness Love and Jacqueline Cochran refused due to their cadets being as young as 18 years old if they had the necessary experience, which clashed with WAC's age requirements. Many attempts were made for the WASPs to gain permission to be commissioned as service pilots, a standard process for male civilian pilots. When they were refused, they attempted to return with a bill that had been ignored since 1941 to make the WASPs a women's service within the U.S. Army Air Force. The bill was defeated in 1944, with the WASPs disbanding in December of that same year. Masters of the Air did skip these moments in WW2, but the efforts of these women, such as Josephine Pitts, can still be discovered. Who was Bucky's wife, Josephine Pitts, and what happened to her? Callum Turner as Major John Egan at Stalag Luft 3 Masters of the Air. Josephine Pitts was the first licensed female pilot in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, and joined the WASPs at the start of WW2. During her service, Pitts ferried several planes that Masters of the Air showcased, including the B-17 Flying Fortress. After the war, Pitts continued to work for the organization as she pushed legislation allowing the WASPs to gain veteran status, which was granted in 1977 after much controversy. Pitts married John Bucky Egan after the war, who had served in the 100th Bomber Group as squadron commander of the B-17 and whose journey and time as a prisoner of war was highlighted in Masters of the Air. Egan passed away in 1961, with Pitts joining him in 2006 at 93 years old. Pitts was buried in Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. with full military honors.